Welcome back to another video. So in this video, we are going to reasonably quickly recap what happened with Bench Worlds. So this year, I went on a little bit of a mini side quest to get my first ever GB singlet, which has been a goal of mine since I started the sport. And every single year, I'm tempted to do bench only because my bench is competitive enough that realistically, I should have been able to get a GB singlet relatively comfortably just from doing bench nationals at the start of the year and then doing either Worlds or Euros later down the line. So if you've been following me, or if you know me, you know bench nationals didn't quite go to plan. But I still ended up getting my spot on the team, which was like quite a big surprise for me that I still managed to get a spot on the team. And I competed at Bench Worlds a few days ago. It's now Sunday, I competed on Thursday, so I got home late Friday night. So I've had a few days to kind of think about it, decompress, and I just want to kind of run through things. But I don't want to make this too long of a video. In the last video, I kind of talked through the weight cutting side, although I have got a fun little story on that. But in the last video, I think you could definitely tell if you've seen it that on the morning of comp, I was feeling quite deflated. And I think that is just the result of back-to-back weight cuts, back-to-back competitions. Even though the bench only comps were supposed to be low pressure, quite light-hearted, fun, relatively easy competitions for me because bench is the part of a competition that I usually enjoy the most until this year. That's not kind of how things unfolded, basically. And I think back-to-back weight cuts has taken a massive toll on me as well. But it has given us good data in terms of my weight cuts because previously with my acute cuts, I would do a water load and a gut cut. And I always felt like the water load actually made me feel the most rough of all of it. Saunering on the day of comp, hot bathing, sweating out kind of doesn't leave me feeling too bad. But the manipulation in the days leading up to competition, I think we've kind of realized gut cutting just is not overly effective for me. I literally lost 300 grams this time from 3 days of gut cutting. And my cut before that, I think I lost like 400 grams if you don't include the weight spike that I had the day my gut cut started from like a salty late dinner the night before. So that's all stuff we'll talk through at a different point. But basically, I woke up at 84.1, as I mentioned in the last video. By the time I left my hotel room, I was 84 on the dot. My scales are always pretty bang on competition scales, so I wasn't too worried. But just to be safe, when I got to the venue, there were 3 sets of scales in the venue. I thought there were only 2. There's the test scales and there's the official platform scales. Turns out there's the test scales, platform 1 scales, and platform 2 scales. Now, I was competing on platform 1. I checked my weight about 90 minutes before weigh-in, like exactly as I would weigh in, literally completely naked, checked my weight, and I was at 83.84 or something. So I was like over 150 grams in, which I still had an hour and a half to go. It was pretty warm in the venue. I was cruising. So I actually had just a few sips of drink, nothing crazy, literally probably like 150 mils. But in that time, I also then went for another pee. So I was expecting to be pretty much 300 grams or more in, like cruising in. So I'm sitting there waiting to weigh in. The referee goes into platform 2 scales, but you would think platform 1 and platform 2 would have pretty identical scales and they'd have checked this. Guys, I weighed in at 84.02. Thankfully, I was one of the last 84s to weigh in and there was just a small amount of 84 plus left to weigh in after me, so I didn't have to wait long, but I missed my weigh-in, so I didn't make weight for the first time in my career. Now, I was only 20 grams over, and I know that 20 grams is literally like tiny bit or like the tiniest wee ever. And I still actually went and had another little wee and I spat for like 5 minutes, if that. And I knew that I'd easily gotten the 20 grams off, right? But I will say the stress of missing my weigh-in slot when I was already feeling incredibly hungry, incredibly deflated. And I felt like I was in, like I should have been in, right? Like on the other scales, I would have been comfortably in. I don't want to say it stressed me out because I knew that I was going to make that 20 grams. Like I could literally just cut an inch off the bottom of my hair and make it. Like there were no actual reasons for me to be stressed other than for the fact of like, I knew it shouldn't have happened. And that kind of really annoyed me. So yeah, that was annoying, but it's fine. I reweighed literally less than 10 minutes later and I was 83.77. I didn't spit off that much. I didn't pee out that much. There were a few issues with the scales. So I do think the scales were actually just not calibrating properly and working properly because there were a few, I think the 84 plus had multiple people weighing like the exact same, which shouldn't have happened either. So I do think there was a fault with the scales, but it is what it is. I weighed an 83.77. It's fine. I made weight. Like it wasn't a problem. It was just a frustration I didn't need. But thankfully, I was in the second flight, so I still had plenty of time to rehydrate, to eat and everything, and I didn't have to dehydrate myself for weigh-in. I just had to prolong eating and drinking that morning. So I didn't feel rough at all. I just felt deflated from the previous days of cutting and, well, to be honest, from the previous months of cutting at this point. And I knew I wasn't going in at my absolute strongest either. I would have been over the moon to even match my PB, but realistically, I was expecting to hit maybe 117, which I'd been hitting in training consistently for months, possibly over a year now. 117 is nothing to me anymore, or at least I thought, but we'll get on to that. So yeah, I missed weight. For the first time in my life, I missed weight, so that was fun. But I obviously then made it and it wasn't a problem, it was fine. Fast forward then to kind of warming up and everything. I had Sophia handling me and we basically just agreed the main goal for the day was to just hit more than one attempt. Because at my previous 2 comps, bearing in mind, bench used to always be the most consistent lift for me at competition. Like I would pretty regularly go 3 for 3. Like me and bench have gotten to a point in competition where it is so consistent, so reliable, and it's just been going so well until 2026. This year, that's just not been the case. But the goal was basically to go at least 2 for 3 and just place as high as possible. But the good thing with the placing system is that with the rankings and the strength levels of all the girls competing, basically 6th and 7th on nominations were Erica, who is the other GB lifter, and myself. And I think I was ranked 7th, she was ranked 6th, because they used our British bench totals, or benches, which obviously mine was kind of deflated from my 1 for 3 performance. So essentially, it didn't really matter too much to push myself on the day, because in terms of team points, one of us was going to place there, one of us was going to place there. Didn't really care too much who. Like from my perspective, Erica's super strong. She's progressing really well. I was fine with her beating me if that's how it played out. Turns out one of the women bombed, who was in the top 5 nominations, which I kind of wish I knew before going out for my 3rd, because top 5 was originally a big goal for me until I thought it was completely out of reach and that I'd need like a 125 plus bench to get there. But we'll get onto that. So warming up. To be fair, I didn't feel terrible. I kept going a little bit lightheaded, but I didn't feel awful. Now, in the previous video, I did mention that I was having a lot of lower back issues / pain in the days leading up to this. And the morning of comp, it also didn't feel great. I put off taking any painkillers until I was then about to start kind of getting ready to warm up, / about half an hour before I started warming up, just to give them time to kick in. And I'll be totally honest, because it was competition day, I kind of just completely ignored it, and it didn't actually bother me too much. Like I felt like I could still get in position and stuff, and it wasn't really a factor or a limiting factor on the day as far as I could tell. Looking back at the videos, I don't think my arch and stuff was quite the same as normal, and I think that was probably a guarding thing. But in the moment, it didn't feel super off. Like it felt fine. It actually felt better than when I did my tempo bench a few days out before I flew out to Poland. So that was the positive there. But I kept going a little bit lightheaded, but that's quite normal for me on comp day with bench. I don't really know why, because I don't think it was a dehydration thing or a refeeding thing. That often happens on comp day with bench. Even if squats feel fantastic and great, I will quite often have that on bench. But to be fair, by the time I got on the platform, it kind of stopped happening. But yeah, I was warming up and I kind of said to Sophia, who was handling me, I was like, look, I'm not attached to any number. I just kind of want to go at least 2 for 3, see where we end up. I'm quite happy to take bigger jumps. I literally just kind of want to be here and have fun. Like that's all I care about at this point. Like as much as I hate saying it, because I am a competitive person and I always want to do better than I have done previously, I knew that wasn't really going to happen at this one. So we decided to lower my opener to 110, which was kind of always in discussion anyway. We were always talking about doing that. I'd even toyed with the idea of lowering it even more. But we opened at 110. I know I can hit 110 on any given day. I hit it for a double at like an RP6 just a few days out. Like 110 is fine.
It's a good lift.
So walking off from the 110 moved pretty well. I felt pretty good. I will say the press commands felt like an eternity. They were quite strict, but obviously it's bench world, so they're going to be, so this isn't an excuse. I will say I was just stupid in not getting any press commands in the lead up to both the competitions I've just done. I noticed at All Englands that I was kind of struggling a little bit with it, and I noticed at Bench Worlds I was struggling with it as well. I should have got press commands. Normally I don't in training, so obviously I train alone at home, but like if my boyfriend's about, I can easily get him to come in and just give me press commands, and that's something I definitely should have done on the days that he was home while I was training. So I do kind of regret doing that, because I think with the stricter press commands, I struggled even more than I needed to, because I just wasn't in the routine of having those. And I think the anticipation of waiting for a press command can often actually make pausing a bench quite a lot harder. So anyway, 110 still felt pretty comfortable, pretty easy. So we went straight up to 115. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on.
I think she's bringing the one home.
3 white lights. Congratulations.
3 white lights and a good lift on the board.
Now, 115 was a lot harder than it should have been. It didn't feel that hard. It was just kind of slow and steady. It didn't feel like a top end lift though. So I was still confident that 117 should be there. But I also think I'd kind of written off the idea of hitting 117 / I wasn't overly happy with the concept of hitting 117 because I just feel like I should have been able to do that without a doubt, like no questions asked. So I think maybe mentally here I kind of, don't want to say wrote myself off because I don't think I necessarily did. Like I still went out with full intention for the 117, but I think actually looking back, like realistically, I wasn't that hopeful that I would make it move that well. But yeah, we went out for 117 anyway. And actually, to be fair, walking off for the 115, Sophia and I were both just happy that I'd gone 2 for 3 because that was like minimum goal for the day. But yeah, let's look at how the 117 was.
So to gradually improve your world ranking.
Sorry, no lift.
No lift for Great Britain.
So when I was setting up for the 117, I heard the MC say that this was for 5th place. And I do genuinely think that threw me a little bit because I didn't think top 5 at an international is kind of always the minimum goal. I think in my head, like top 5, team points, and just like to say you're top 5 in the world is pretty cool. So I didn't think that I was anywhere near top 5. Like I thought I was probably in 7th at this point, maybe 6th, depending on what Erica had hit / where she was at. But hearing them say that I was going to be top 5 if I got that as I was setting up, I do think kind of threw me a little bit as well. It doesn't really matter. And I still kind of, like I say, I gave it everything I could. It just wasn't there on the day. I just think as well, for me, bench only is too slow. Bench only flights can be longer than normal competition flights, like full power flights, because you just basically, I can't remember what the limit of number is. It's roughly, you can have like 20-ish people in a flight for bench only, whereas full power, I think 14 is the limit. I just think it's too long of a rest for me. And I think that's my own fault, especially going into a bench only. I should have practiced with more longer rest breaks. But when I train alone at home, like I've said this in videos before, when I have a competition coming up, I really try and set timers to make sure I'm actually resting for long enough because I train so fast at home. My brain is just constantly on the go. So I just kind of sit for 30 seconds and go, sit for 30 seconds and go. And I actually have to set timers if I want my rest breaks to be more than like 2-3 minutes, especially on bench. Like when it gets to about 90 seconds, 2 minutes past my last set, I'm itching and like ready to go. So having those long rest breaks between bench attempts, I do think also has an impact for me, like a negative impact. And I think that's something if I do decide to do any further bench onlys, I need to really work on. But I'm happy to say I have no intention of doing another bench only for a long, long time. I have been invited and I have accepted my invite to European bench in August. I am going to decline that invitation. To be honest, I think because I'm not that excited to do it and I have other opportunities coming up later this year that I'll talk about kind of in another video that include traveling for powerlifting, I'm just not excited enough about European bench and I don't want to do another cut, that I would much rather someone that's on the reserve list who really is desperate to go get that spot over me. So I'm really I'm set on that decision that I'm not going to do that competition. And yeah, I've got some exciting news in the pipeline, but I am going to save that for the next video to talk through kind of what's next with my training. But yeah, I think, to be honest, that's pretty much all I have to say on the bench only front. I think I was quite surprised at how I felt after. I will be fully transparent here. I had a lot of fun during the competition. And I've actually spoken to a few people about this because I was very transparent on Instagram about kind of my thoughts and stuff. Even though I'm disappointed in my performances so far this year, I've made sure to enjoy the day. Even if I'm not feeling super strong, I genuinely love the sport. I genuinely love training for it. I don't love competing, I'll be honest, but I always just try and make the most out of the day. And it's a day where I get to hang out with other powerlifters and have fun. And we had a really fun group for our session. We were laughing the whole way through, we were chatting the whole way through, and it was just a really fun day. By the time it had finished, like I say, I had loads of fun. I spent the rest of the afternoon at the venue because I wanted to watch the 105s and the 120s benching as well. And then I went back to my hotel and I shared an Uber with a few people back to the hotels. They were all going to the banquet, which I decided I didn't really want to go to. So I went to a little shop at the bottom of the hotel. And then as I was walking back to my room, I just felt this shift in my mood. So that was the first time I'd actually been like alone since the competition had ended. And I knew I was exhausted. Like I felt so exhausted all afternoon after I'd competed. But it wasn't until I was like on my way back to the room that I was like, oh wait, no, like I'm actually really like sad. And I'm so out of touch with my emotions. It's actually funny. But no, I did go back to my room and like full transparency, I did have a little bit of a cry because I was like, not because I hadn't enjoyed the day, but because I was just frustrated with how things kept unfolding. And I think, to be honest, a big part of it as well was just I was so mentally exhausted from these competitions. Like when I look back at my favorite parts of powerlifting, it's been when I've had like a really good chunk of time between competitions. I've know that I've gone in and built my base between competitions and come in, even if I've then not had the competition I wanted, I'm so much stronger in my body and in myself than I was previously. And I think the last few competitions, I've just not felt like that. Like not even this year, but the ones I did last year as well, I kind of felt like that. And I didn't feel like my baselines were ticking along how I want them to. And I think that just kind of caught up to me, that along with like obviously the diet fatigue and everything as well, that I did actually just feel quite sad that night. And I just had a little cry for like not an hour, like 20 minutes. And then I ordered a burger and then I got upset because my stomach has shrunk so much from all the dieting and the gut cut that I literally only ate half of it. And I was really looking forward to that burger and it was really tasty. So that was also incredibly sad for me. But all is well. I think I still really enjoyed the trip. I'm glad I did it. I got the GB singlet and I genuinely did have fun. And I think two things can be true at once, right? I can have a really fun competition, really good time. And I can also go back to my room and cry about it later on, right? Like two things can be true at once. You can feel more than one way about something. And I've had a few people message me and speak to me about, like I had a couple of people ask me if I'm going to be quitting and stuff like that, which, you know, they were like, oh, I really like, which feels so cringy to say, but they basically were saying they kind of look up to me and the fact that like I'm quite resilient when it comes to competing and disappointing performances, but I'll just get straight back to work and continue going. And I just think like, it's not a question about like powerlifting brings me so much more than just my total, right? Like even just proving to myself that I can be disciplined enough to show up to training every single time. Like I literally train 10 steps from my house, right? Like it would be very easy for me to not bother and to just stay in and just relax in the evenings and stuff when I'm really busy. But like, no, like powerlifting allows me to have that discipline and prove to myself that I can do what I say I'm going to do. It allows me to obviously be my strongest self physically, but also like mentally as well. And there's a lot more than just the total that I'm hitting. Like I can be disappointed in my performances and my strength levels, but I can still be proud of everything else at the same time. So I think that's just an important note to end on. I think that's all I've got to say. Bench only career over and out. Don't think I'll be doing that again forever, maybe, if not a very long time. But I'm glad I did it. Like I say, it was an experience. It was good. It was fun. Poland was lovely. And yeah, I had a good time. That's the most important thing. In the next video, I will break down what is next because we have quite a lot of change incoming. And I'm really excited to talk it through. And I don't think people will necessarily be expecting what I'm going to be talking through. So stay tuned for that. That'll be out on Friday. But if you have made it to the end of the video, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in a few days for the next one.